If we could start taking our seats, we're going to start here in about 20 seconds. If you can make your way to your seats, please. Well, good evening, everyone. Today is February 27th, 2025. This is a regular session of your full Board of Unified Government Commission, as well as the planning zoning portion that'll be occurring tonight. Before I call the meeting to order, I want to announce that some of our commissioner staff and the public are attending remotely via Zoom, by phone, or they're on site. All participants joining by phone should please mute your phone at this time when not speaking to avoid any background noise. During the meeting, please make sure that you announce yourself by name and title every time you speak, so the public that is observing knows exactly who is speaking. This is critical given the number of remote participants and is current guidance from the Kansas Attorney General's office. If public comments are allowed on any agenda items, comments should be limited to the topic of discussion. Per the rules of procedure, as well as the rules for decorum in this chamber, disorderly conduct will not be allowed. Make sure that when you do speak, that you speak clearly into the mic so that those that are in attendance or off-site can hear you, and that your remarks can be captured for record by our clerk. I'll now call the meeting to order. Clerk, roll call, please.
Roll call. Hill.
Here.
Kane.
Here.
Lopez.
Here.
Stites.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Bynum.
Here.
Burrows.
Here.
Townsend.
Here.
Burns.
Here.
Ramirez.
Here.
Garner.
Here. Thank you, clerk. Tonight, the invocation will be given by Chaplain Clarence Miller, if he's present. Okay. We will go to our backup, which is, oh, we have Reverend Carter. We sure do. All right. That's even better. Pastor Carter, if you would grace us with the honors of the invocation tonight. I'm sure the community would appreciate that. And immediately following the invocation, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask everybody to please stand at this time.
Let's bow our heads. God, we thank you for this day and for the many privileges that come along with it. We thank you as well, Lord, for the challenges that we have to face. And may we do them with dignity and with humanity and with the love that can only come from you. Thank you for all that we are beneficiaries of. May we continue to cooperatively work with each other. We ask that you would now invoke your spirit through all of us. In the proud and precious name of our Savior, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend Carter. We appreciate you volunteering to give that invocation tonight. Clerk, are there any revisions in tonight's agenda?
Yes, Mayor, we have one revision. An agenda update was issued adding item number 5.8, a resolution declining 2025 cost of living increase to the mayor's agenda.
Okay. Item number 5.1 is Dot Proud recognitions, and that's on the mayor's agenda. I'm going to ask my chief of staff to come forward. And this is really important for me. And I just want to thank the commissioners and all of those that may be viewing, as well as those that are here. This is Black History Month in our great nation. And I just thought it'd be fitting that we recognize that here in the Unified Government Chambers, and that we take this opportunity to do something that I know has never happened before, is that we recognize some of the Black leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs in our community right here in Kansas City, Kansas, that have contributed greatly to the success of Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas, through goods, services, and resources that have been desperately needed in certain pockets of this community. These individuals, to my knowledge, have never been recognized by the unified government, have never been recognized and given their due diligence of honor by any major body here in Wyandotte County. And so these unsung heroes that you will find scattered throughout Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas. Some of them are here tonight. And being the first Black mayor of Kansas City, Kansas, unified government, it is my honor and my privilege to have worked with my team to identify some, and there's many, many more. And I don't want that to go lost. There's many, many more Black-owned businesses, Black entrepreneurs, Black leaders that have contributed greatly, both past and present. But these individuals tonight, we wanted to make sure that this would be the first step, and there will be more to come. So those of you that aren't here tonight, stay tuned, because you may be called upon by the public in this body to be recognized for your contributions and the great work to the awesome people of Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas. So in honor of Black History Month, and again, I just want to thank our commissioners. I know we have a long meeting tonight, and their presence and their time to take time to allow for us to recognize you all should be applauded, because we'll be here long after you're gone doing the work for the people. But we did want to take the time at the beginning of this meeting to at least pay homage to Black History Month. So my Chief of Staff, Irene Caldillo, she'll take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, County Administrator, Irene Caldillo, Chief of Staff. So as the mayor mentioned, as we close Black History Month, we have to appreciate it's a time to really intentionally celebrate the contributions and history of today, one individual and some longstanding African-American-led organizations and businesses in our community. But I want you to very much please note that this individual and these organizations and businesses have been and are committed to advocacy, nourishment, service, sharing their talents and work throughout the year in Wyandotte County, and they reflect true excellence. So I'll start with the individual, Chief Carl A. Oakman. Chief Carl Oakman was born and raised in Kansas City, Kansas. He's been married to Riddell for over 30 years, and they have two sons, Carl and Joshua. He served in Kansas City, Missouri Police Department for 29 years, retiring with the rank of Deputy Chief in 2021. On June 14th of 2021, Oakman was appointed Chief of the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department. So far in his tenure as chief, he's developed successful initiatives focusing on fentanyl, opiate use reduction, crime reduction, community policing, youth engagement, recruitment, and officer wellness. These strategies have helped reduce homicides in KCK by 62% since 2020. Now that deserves a applause. Though he began his career as a patrol officer in '92 for Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, he moved upward in commanding the Patrol Bureau. And his highlights in his tenure in Kansas City, Missouri, was that he was responsible for the management and leadership of 1,025 sworn and civilian employees. He commanded 6 patrol divisions: the Airport Division, Special Operations Division, Traffic Division, Social Services, Crisis Intervention, and Detention Services. He was Administration Bureau Commander, overseeing the Regional Crime Lab, Human Resource Division, and the Information Technology Division. In addition, he held positions of city liaison, working side by side with that mayor, city manager, and council to address public safety issues. He was the overall incident commander for the 10 days of civil unrest in Kansas City, Missouri, following the death of George Floyd in 2020, and KC Chiefs Super Bowl parade in 2021. Chief Oakman is a 2018 graduate of the prestigious Police Executive Leadership Institute and a member of the International Association of Chiefs of Police, Police Executive Research Forum, the Kansas Chiefs Association representative for Wyandotte, Johnson, and Leavenworth counties, and former president of the Metropolitan Chiefs and Sheriffs Association. He serves on the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, Regional Homeland Security Coordinating Committee, and the IACP Human and Civil Rights Committee. Chief Oakman has received many awards. I'm not going to list those, but I have to tell you, the one that we have to include is the recent 2024 Clarence Kelly Award for the most outstanding police executive in the Kansas City metro area. So I ask you to please join me in congratulating Chief Carl Oakman on a DOT Proud recognition. Chief Oakman, if you want to come up. Mayor, if you want to say a few words, or do you want him to say a few words first? Because you need to come down after he's done.
Y'all can be seated. Chief, you've done such an outstanding job here. You came in with an 8-point plan. I supported you from day one. I met you when we both majors. We had just got promoted, and you brought me over. You gave me an awesome tour of a facility that outpaced all of our facilities here in Wyandotte County. But you've done an outstanding job. I've always say that to have a great Kansas City, Kansas, you have to have a safe Kansas City, Kansas. And you've done that through your leadership. The great men and women of the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department, in my opinion, are second to none. And that comes from your leadership, your tenacity, your resilience, and more importantly, your love and your care for the great people and the awesome people here in Kansas City, Kansas. What wasn't said is that he is an original DOT. He graduated from Harmon High School, so he came back home. We're glad to have you. And not only are we giving you a DOT Proud recognition, I'm also presenting you with the mayoral commendation for your valiant service to the great people of Kansas City, Kansas. We appreciate you. We love you and your wife, and thank you so much for your service.
Well, thank you so much. And I just have to, for everything I do, I have to thank my great wife of 31 years, who's always with me through thick and thin. And I really want to thank the commission, the county administrator, and the mayor, because each of you make our job so much easier supporting us, because we all want the same thing, and that's to make KCK the safest and best city in the metropolitan area. So I want to thank all the citizens of KCK and the men and women of the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department. Thank you so much.
Thank you. For these next organizations and businesses, what we'll ask you to do is to join the commission, and we will give you your award. First is the Big Fish. The Big Fish's mission is simple. It's to provide our community with a restaurant they can truly believe in. Owners Freddie and Chanel envision the Big Fish as a place where the community can gather, celebrate, and feel at home. The restaurant creates a dining experience that serves with quality, care, and a touch of Southern hospitality. The menu features the freshest ingredients, whether it's fish, shrimp, or chicken, and all served with care and dedication. They believe that how food is sourced and prepared matters, which is why they emphasize health and wellness in every dish. After all, we are what we eat. So to complement their main offerings, they instill a sense of home with soul food sides. They anticipate expanding their menu to include grilled options and Southern Creole flavors inspired by New Orleans, and enhancing the dining experience by introducing a bar, allowing guests to enjoy cocktails with their meal. They are grateful for your support and the support from our community, and they inspire our taste buds. Please congratulate Big Fish on their Proud recognition. Next is Bonner Springs NAACP branch. The Bonner Springs NAACP branch was formed in 1961 and works diligently with the community. Education is the key to success is their motto, and assists them to provide equal opportunity for youth to develop leadership skills through the organization. Several activities are provided throughout the year, and it includes a Martin Luther King event, Define Your Destiny, and talent show competition with a soul food dinner, where 2 recipients are recognized for the Louise Fletcher Excellence in Education Award, a Black History Month with a book list, a Juneteenth celebration, legislative coffee and voter registration, Thanksgiving baskets, and Christmas parties with toy selections. And of course, a Freedom Fund banquet where 2 exceptional community leaders are honored. Bonner Springs NAACP branch focuses on the strength of their members working together. Please join me in congratulating Bonner Springs NAACP branch on their Proud recognition. Donnell's Kitchen and Lounge. Donnell's Kitchen and Lounge offers an authentic soul food experience with a Cajun twist. As a family-owned and operated business, they aim to bring love to our community by creating a lighthearted, fun atmosphere through impeccable service, food, music, and laughter. They seek to ensure every guest feels at home and leaves the table satisfied, full, and ready to come back. A Wyandotte County native by way of Louisiana, Craig Donnell Sr. grew up with soul food being the cornerstone that held the Donnell family together. Craig began to cook at an early age while watching his mother and sisters in the kitchen. He ensured this strong foundation was passed down to his 2 daughters, Muriel and Kristen. Muriel is the heart of Donnell's Kitchen and is a part owner, the eldest daughter of Craig and one half of the dream team that creates the magic behind the scenes. With her sister by her side, she opened Donnell's Kitchen Playlist food truck. After 2 years of success on the road, their customers wanted more. Thus, the brick and mortar that is now Donnell's Kitchen was born. Please join me in congratulating Donnell's Kitchen and Lounge on their Dot Proud recognition. Fast Fred's Market. Born in Wyandotte County to Fred and Marilyn Taylor, Fred Taylor Jr. is the son of a Kansas entrepreneur, Fred Taylor, founder of A&T Market and Fred's Market, that later expanded to Fast Fred's. This cornerstone of Wyandotte County community has been in operations for over 3 decades. Rooted in the principle of accessible food, workforce development, and community engagement, Fred Jr. has been working in his family business since he was 5 years old. Yeah. And he continues the family legacy with his own vision and leadership. A Washington High School graduate, he's known for his humility, strong business acumen, being a proud father of Fred III, and having a strong dedication to his family. Fred is Adopt Proud and remains committed to uplifting his community through good food, hospitable service, and longevity. Please join me in congratulating Fast Fred's Market on their Adopt Proud recognition. Holtz Barber Shop. James T. Holtz Sr. was born in Kansas City, Kansas in the late 1950s, the 7th of 9 children. James remained focused on his education and graduated in 1977. After high school, he pursued a variety of careers, but in early 1990s, James enrolled in Barber College, where he was mentored by Miss Suma Singleton, a respected figure in the barbering community. With her support, James honed his craft and earned his barber license. Soon after, he opened Holtz Barbershop, a business he owns and has operated for over 30 years. Holtz Barbershop became a cornerstone of the community, known for its expert service, welcoming atmosphere, and commitment to quality. James' impact actually extends beyond the barbering world, where he mentored over 20 aspiring barbers, many of whom went on to open their own successful businesses, and dedicated his time to coaching recreational league basketball teams, especially for underserved youth in our community. His influence contributed to the growth of the barbering industry across Wyandotte and Johnson counties in Kansas, as well as Jackson and Platte counties in Missouri. Please join me in congratulating Holtz Barbershop on their Dot Proud recognition. Kansas City, Kansas NAACP branch. The Kansas City, Kansas NAACP branch was founded in 1918 and is celebrating 107 years this year. Founder of this branch is credited to the late Dr. Woody E. Jacobs, who met with national officials to help him organize this branch. Since 1918, the members of the association have dedicated their time, talent, and energy by living the legacy of the NAACP. With the association's members' life, work, and experiences that operate across the fabric of our community. The members have assisted in creating jobs for our residents, engaging in philanthropic and civic concerns, preserving neighborhoods, and improving the quality of life of our citizens. Interesting fact, in 1923, the National Convention of the NAACP was held right here in Kansas City, Kansas. Roy Wilkins was a former executive of the National NAACP, and his father was the late Dr. W.D. Wilkins, pastor for the First AME Church, 8th in Nebraska and Kansas City, Kansas. Memorable personalities at the 1923 convention is James Weldon Johnson, Walter White, and William Pickens. So in the branch existence, there have been 37 presidents that have been at the helm of the local work. The work continues to address diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion. The NAACP Kansas City, Kansas branch will remain vigilant in its mission until the promise of America is made real for all Americans. Please join me in congratulating the Kansas City, Kansas NAACP branch on their proud recognition. James Lemonade. James Anderson, the youngest of 6 children, was raised by a single mother in public housing in Kansas City, Kansas. Destined to become successful, he transformed a cherished family lemonade recipe into a thriving business. After obtaining his cosmetology license in 1981, Anderson worked as a barber and eventually opened his own salon, James Place, in 1995. Noticing the demand for refreshments, he started serving this homemade lemonade recipe at an adjacent eatery known as James Grill. Excuse me. The beverage's popularity soared, leading Anderson to become bottling and selling James Lemonade in 1999. By 2003, his product line expanded to 4 flavors: original lemonade, fruit punch, grape, and mango, which is now distributed across 9 states with significant popularity in Kansas City and St. Louis. Anderson attributes his success to abiding faith in God and hard work. Please join me in congratulating James Lemonade on their Dot Proud recognition. NPB Companies. NPB Companies, Inc. is based in Kansas City, Kansas, comprised of Norman Smith, Pete Beadle, Brian Butner, and a well-rounded multi-purpose staff. NPB was formed in January of 1998 for the purpose of consulting and assisting venues in developing their own in-house event staff and security programs. It was later determined that there was a need for a more upscale event staff service in Greater Kansas City. NPB is based on frontline customer service for special events and entertainment, risk management services. They specialize in event staffing, entertainment safety, uniformed unarmed security, event safety planning, and tour security consulting for touring attractions and entertainers. They help plan and consult for some of the largest entertainment festivals and premier concert venues, both nationally and internationally. They've been recognized and honored locally and nationally. And for the last 27 years, NPB has become a well-respected and recognized leader in entertainment safety services. Please join me in congratulating NPB on their Dot Proud recognition. My I promise we're close. All right, Feels Good Tires and Accessory. Feels Good Tires and Accessory is owned by Phil Hall. Phil was born and raised in Kansas City, Kansas, in the historical Parkwood neighborhood by 2 amazing parents. His mom a nurse and his dad a construction worker. Both raised Philip to understand what it meant to work hard and to let your work stand for you. At an early age, his dad advised him to go to his uncle's tire shop and work for him. So he did. After graduating Wyandotte High School, he continued to work for his uncle, increasing his passion for tires and accessories. In 1993, Phil decided to own his own shop. He purchased a facility at 809 Quindaro Boulevard, where his business began and still operates today. Though his years in business, Phil has seen the industry change from person-to-person contact to a click of a mouse. With a focus on quality products and customer satisfaction, the company offers tire sales, installation, and repairs to meet the needs of drivers in our area. Phil's business has been a staple in our community and has provided valuable service to Kansas City, Kansas, and all Wyandotte County. Please join me in congratulating Phil's Good Tires and Accessories. Thatcher's Funeral Home began during a time when horses pulled wagons through the streets of Kansas City, Kansas. At that time, the area of First, Second, and Third Streets were populated by Black families who moved to free Kansas when they left the cotton and sugar plantations of the South. In 1912, Nathan Thatcher Sr. founded Thatcher's Funeral Home, currently located at 1514 North Fifth Street. To continue the family legacy after Mr. Thatcher Sr.'s death, the business was passed on to the son, Nathan Thatcher Jr., who operated the business for another 28 years. And upon his death, his daughter Quintel Thatcher Davis, with the assistance of her mother, Myrtle Thatcher, ran the business for another 27 more years. Upon Miss Davis' death in 2007, her son and the great-grandson of Mr. Thatcher Sr., Robert Davis Jr., became the general manager of Thatcher Funeral Home. Miss Myrtle Thatcher advised her grandson until her death, and he now carries on the over 100-year legacy of the family's business. Through the generations, all family members have stayed dedicated to the ideals of Nathan Thatcher Sr., which is to provide a first-class mortuary service to this community. Please join me in congratulating Thatcher's Funeral Home.
Irene, if I may, I'd like to say a word about Thatcher's Funeral Home. Back in the mid-'80s, my good friend, the late Clyde Townsend, was an employee of Thatcher's for many, many years. And Clyde, when I worked at the courthouse, would come over occasionally just to talk and tell jokes and whatever. And he would never take the jingle back that I brought up for the funeral home. He laughed about it. He said, well, maybe, okay, Burns, I'll wait. And it was real simple. It was, we don't want you to die, but if you die, we want you. So he says, I don't want to get fired. I don't want to do that. I thought it was good.
The Urban League of Greater Kansas City's mission is to enable African Americans and other disadvantaged populations to secure economic self-reliance, parity, power, and civil rights. Incorporated in 1920 in Kansas City, Missouri, the organization sought employment for soldiers returning from World War I, recreational accommodations for returning soldiers and the community, and housing for African-American families. They also set out to give educational training and employment opportunities that fueled economic empowerment and equality for African Americans. The League collaborates with community leaders, policymakers, and corporate partners across Greater Kansas City and the region to elevate standards of living for African Americans and other historical underserved groups. Urban League of Greater Kansas City is founded on the principles of equity and opportunity and is a historical civil rights organization dedicated to economic empowerment, equal opportunity, equity, and social justice. Please join me in congratulating the Urban League of Greater Kansas City. Wilson's Pizza and Grill. Yep, yeah, we all know that one. Wilson's Market was opened in 1978 by Russell and Joanne Wilson. It was on North Fifth Street. Russell, being the businessman that he was, opened another location at 1848 Quindaro in 1989 to serve the community of Wyandotte County. Gary Wilson is the son of Russell and Joanne. He started working at his parents' businesses at 15. Today, Gary is the owner of Wilson's Pizza and Grill. He opened on Quindaro Boulevard in 1993 when so many businesses had left the area. Before Wilson opened his restaurant, no big pizza chains would deliver pizza in Quindaro neighborhoods. Wilson solved the problem by providing the area with pizza and employing young adults from the community. You'll feel at home when you walk through the doors, not just because he customized your order if needed, but he's also friendly to whoever enters. He's endured, and he actually has described his success by putting community first and giving them his best. Please join me in congratulating Wilson's Pizza. This last one, last but not least, definitely is 1930 Classic Kitchen. It's one of a few soul food restaurants currently operating in Wyandotte County. Freelon Davis, a Washington High School and HBCU Grambling State University graduate, named the restaurant after the year his mother was born. He wanted to bring a taste of soul to our community. 1930 Classic Kitchen is all about good food, good vibes, and the kind of meals that remind you of your grandmother's cooking. Their recipes are over 100 years old, passed down from one generation to another. They take pride in making sure that the quality of these recipes remain as if their elders were right next to them making each dish. The spices and ingredients make each signature dish stand out. So when their chefs create each dish, they make sure to add a kiss of soul. Please congratulate 1930 Classic Kitchen on their Dot Proud recognition.
Let's give these Dot Proud recipients another round of applause. Yes. I can say without a doubt, over my years of working here, especially on the streets when I was a public servant, out in the police department, I met a lot of these great folks. I can tell you, they're hardworking, they pay their taxes, they didn't get any incentives, they got to pay full BPU like everybody else. They didn't get any rebates. And they did what needed to be done to be successful and to make sure that the community had the good services and resources necessary to sustain life and commerce in parts of the community that had been redlined, disinvested, disenfranchised, and often forgotten. And so it says a lot about the resilience and commitment of these individuals, and they are more than deserving of Dot Proud. As one of the leaders of these organizations that carry on legacies, some for over 100 years, of a commitment to social justice, equal rights, equity, inclusion, diversity, and just love for all mankind. And those are the things that hopefully we take away when we talk about Black History Month. It's about recognizing people that through struggle of ancestors, resilience of facing racism and hate throughout the years, and overcoming and being strong contributors, not just here in Wyandotte County, but to our great nation. These are just a few, but there are so many, many more. So I just want to, again, congratulate all our Dot Proud representatives, and to those that are maybe watching and say, well, what about me? Stay tuned. This will not be the end. This is first of a few before I leave as your mayor. So thank you so much for your patience in recognizing and sharing Black history with us in the recognition of these great individuals. Thank you. All right, clerk, that takes us to our next item. Can you read that for us, please?
Item 5.2 is a request for honorary street name to honor Mayor Joseph E. Steiniger. This request represents a request to establish an honorary street name and signs for a portion of Riverview from 63rd Street to 65th Street as Mayor Joseph E. Steiniger Lane.
Okay, I'll ask Mr. Lavert Murray. He's my economic development advisor. He's been working with the Steiniger family. For those of you that don't know, we did lose Mayor Steiniger here last year. And so it's more than befitting that we recognize Mayor Steiniger for his commitment and service to the residents of Kansas City, Kansas. I'll turn it over to Lavert Murray.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the commission, county administrator, and members of the public. Mayor Joseph E. Steiniger was most proud of the fact that his grandfather settled here in Wyandotte County from Switzerland in the mid-1800s, so much so that he built his own home on the same homestead that his grandfather settled on. The approval of the honorary street naming, a part of Riverview that is requested of the commission tonight, recognizes Mayor Joe's humble beginning as the street passes Muncie Creek, where it all began. It is requested that that portion of Riverview from 63rd Street to 65th Street carry the honorary name of Mayor Joseph E. Steiniger Lane. Just to share a brief history, Mayor Joseph E. Steiniger was born to loving, hardworking farmers in Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas during the Depression 1930s era. He had a passion for inventions of the industrial age in rural America and was emotionally attached to his farm tractors. His John Deere tractor carried the logo of the Steiniger Farms. It should be noted that at the peak of the Steiniger family farming, over 3,000 acres here in Wyandotte County were farmed. Mayor Joe found a love for football while attending Washington High School and continued to play at the Kansas City, Kansas Community College. And yes, he was a Chiefs fan. The man we came to know as Mayor Joe Steiniger and his wife Gloria had 4 children who grew up in the house that he and his father, who was a skilled carpenter, built on 63rd Street near Riverview, as noted earlier. Mayor Joe Steiniger's civic calling began at a young age when he was elected to the Muncie School Board, where he served for over 30 years on the Turner USD 202 School Board. The old Muncie school site exists on this roadway as well. Mayor Joe created a template for the first community celebration known as Turner Days, which remains as a hallmark of the Turner area to this day. He served on numerous boards and community organizations, which included the National Agricultural Hall of Fame, which was dear to his heart. He sang in the church choir at St. Paul's Episcopal Church from a young age and remained a lifelong member, since his faith was valuable to him, as would be expected from a Kansas dirt farmer. Mayor Joe Steiniger was elected mayor of Kansas City, Kansas for 2 terms, serving from 1987 through 1995. He was very proud of leading the process that resulted in the city winning the All-America City Award. We ask that the commission approve this request, and I'd certainly like to ask Mayor Joe Steiniger's family to stand and those that came here tonight to support him. And I would ask if you would allow Joe Jr., if he wants to make a comment to you. Joe the Third.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to take a second to assure you that there's an old Kansas dirt farmer and his wife smiling on this city council tonight. And on behalf of my family that are here and those that aren't here, we all love KCK and we all love Wyandotte County. So thank you so much for this honor in my father's name. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right. Okay. We have Commissioner Lopez that has a question.
Mayor, I want to make a motion to approve this.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Clerk, roll call.
Roll call. Hill.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Absolutely aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Congratulations. Clerk, if you can read the next item, please.
This is item 5.3, request for an honorary street name to honor Team Mackenzie Way. This represents a request to establish an honorary street name and signs for a portion of 16th and Orville. The honorary name change is intended to honor Ms. Mackenzie Cowan with the name Team Mackenzie Way.
Okay, I'm going to allow Commissioner Burns to make some opening remarks before Mr. Murray. This request actually came from Commissioner Burns, and I think it's befitting that Commissioner Burns lead the dialogue. Commissioner Burns?
Young Mackenzie was diagnosed with cancer. She died at the age of 15. She was a student at Bishop Miege High School at the time. She suffered greatly, but she would not let anybody into the room if they were going to cry. And she did not let her fellow athletes at Bishop Miege she did not tell them she had cancer and was dying. And then she suddenly died in peace. It was tough on the whole neighborhood when you see a sweet little girl at the age of 15 pass away like that and suffer. In conjunction with her grandmother, I presented to the mayor and very helpful, his assistant there. We were able to get this done, and I know we're on a record, but Tuesday at 5 o'clock, the family will see the sign for the first time. And I just think it's appropriate and it will make a difference. And they called it Team Mackenzie Way because her motto during her suffering was Team Mackenzie, but we added the way because it points down to the middle block on 16th and Orville, where she lived. So I would make a motion to approve this.
Lopez, second.
I'm very glad to do so.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll accept those motions. Clerk, roll call.
Roll call. Hill?
Aye.
Kane? Aye. Lopez?
Aye.
Dietz?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Bynum?
Aye.
Burrows? Townsend?
Aye.
Burns?
With pleasure, aye.
Ramirez?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. Thank you, Mr. Murray.
Yes, I just add, if I could, that while Mackenzie's grandmother is involved in this conspiracy, if you will, as is the neighborhood, we're trying to keep it from the Mackenzie family until Tuesday when the sign is unveiled. So that's why you don't see the family here tonight. But thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Clerk, that takes us to our next two items. They're proclamations. If you can read the abbreviated versions of those, please.
Proclamation. Now therefore, I, Tyrone Garner, Mayor CEO of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim February 23rd, 2025 as Friends of Yates 45th Annual Black Men and Women of Distinction Day in recognition of Black History Month in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, and call upon all residents to recognize Friends of Yates 45th Annual Black Men and Women of Distinction Day in recognition of Black History Month. Proclamation. Now therefore, I, Tyrone Garner, Mayor CEO of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the week of February 16th, 2025 as 74th Annual National Engineers Week in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas.
Thank you, Clerk. That takes us to the next item on the mayor's agenda, item number 5.6. It's an ordinance providing for the county administrator's succession if necessary. It's an ordinance amending our current code of ordinances to provide for county administrative succession during periods where the county administrator has the potential to be dismissed or has resigned or is incapacitated. I'll ask our legal department to make some remarks.
Yes, we were asked to prepare an amendment to the ordinance. The current ordinance calls for the county administrator to designate a qualified appointed administrative officer to exercise the powers and perform the duties of the county administrator during temporary absences or disabilities. So the temporary. The change would be for, so it would expand it to providing a list of 3 qualified administrative officers to exercise those powers, but then it would also kick into effect if there was a permanent disability or absence or vacancy in the county administrator role. So that is the change to the current ordinance that's contained in this.
And that was brought about as we looked over our code of ordinances, there was a gray area, and this ordinance would provide clarity and actually direct the county administrator to keep a permanent list of individuals that could provide continuity of government and service in the county administrator's role if it's necessary. Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only question I have for legal is, why is this not a charter ordinance? As this is changing responsibility and direction, not direction, but a part of what the charter is, and that's the county administrator's job responsibilities, and why is it not a charter ordinance?
So this is a temporary measure until the commission, there's no change in the permanent selection of the county administrator, whereby the mayor recommends to the commission, and then the commission either votes up or down that role, that candidate.
Okay.
So it does not change that. It is only until the Board of Commissioners meets to provide consent to a county administrator. And that is in the charter ordinance. So this is just a temporary measure, not intended to infringe upon that at all.
Okay, I'm getting hung up on that it's a temporary measure. I'm not under,
So
we're changing a portion of the administrators, what's in the charter, but I've read the ordinance and there's no deadline of this is a temporary measure. So that's where I'm very confused.
So, and I should have kept reading. It is until so this measure takes effect until the Board of Commissioners meet to provide consent to a county administrator successor. So it is temporary until that point. And I can give an example, but it would be morbid, so. So it would be if something happened on the weekend, say a car accident, then until the board could meet, it would automatically take into effect. As opposed to I'm so sorry. It's hard not to face you guys when I speak, to be down here. So it is a temporary measure until the board meets to provide consent. Yes,
I'm
sorry.
You can go ahead, Commissioner Steitzer, from the mayor.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Burrows?
Buddy, if I may, just recently, the mayor, myself, Commissioner Bynum, and the administrator went to Washington, D.C. It doesn't matter where we went. It's just a matter that we were all 4 together on a flight. Heaven forbid something should happen. You have lost all control of leadership due to a tragic accident. This allows us, if I understand this correctly in my interpretation, this allows us to have somebody in charge to conduct city business in the absence of a critical situation such as losing your leadership team. And that's my understanding as to why this was brought forward. It hit home when all 4 of us were on the plane. That's just my interpretation. I don't see anything nefarious about this, but I wanted to just weigh in with my comments.
And I do note that it does need a little bit of editing in section 2-102. The last 3 words of the first paragraph of section 1 should be deleted. The whichever is earlier, because there's no second part to that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lopez? Okay. Commissioner Stites?
Stites District 7. So what happens right now in the event that Commissioner Burrows mentioned? What would have happened if that happened, God forbid? What would have happened?
Then the commission would have to have an emergency meeting and then, and I'm sorry, was the mayor on the, who's ever in the, acting as the mayor would have to make the recommendation, whether a permanent or a permanent or a temporary position, and the commission would then vote.
And then who would be that, if both at-larges, the mayor and everybody gone, who would that fall to the senior commissioner? Would then be the person in charge?
I don't, is that in the, I'm going to,
Let
that is
me-
not currently in.
Let me answer that.
that.
These are gray area. When they consolidated, we're trying to clean up some of the language and hit some of these gaps and gray areas and these blind spots. This is one of them. For example, myself, both at-larges, and the administrator could be out. There is no interim acting administrator because we're all in town. But for some reason, something tragic may happen to us. There is nothing in the charter or any of our ordinance that gives any type of direction for the commission. So you'd be out without a mayor, that the charter only allows the mayor to appoint, or I should say recommend, which appoint with the consent of the commission for a new administrator, because you don't have a mayor. You don't have an administrator that has to carry on the day-to-day operation of the government. The charter does not allow you not to have an administrator. And then you don't have an at-large, so you don't have a mayor pro tem or a backup mayor pro tem. This is to fill that void and make sure that the administrator always keeps a list, an active list, so in the event that something tragic happens, there will always be a succession plan of somebody to step up and fill that role to work and at least carry on the day-to-day operation of this unified government. That's the purpose of this. Nothing more, nothing less. We're trying to fill a void that was overlooked, obviously, when they consolidated. There's a lot of these voids that are out there. I know that Commissioner Burrows, when he first took over the Charter and Ordinance Review, I could go down the list of several gray areas or parts of the charter and certain orders that either conflict or things that you can't account for everything. But this is one of those ones that we felt, just talking to both commissioners at large, that we thought would be necessary to bring to the commission, because literally, if in the case that something like that happened, you shut down this government. There is no, and I don't know, legal doesn't know, because it's not written in our charter, it's not written in our, we have no direction on how this unified government would function under a scenario like that, because the way the executive branch, the legislative branch is set up in cooperation with an administrator that runs the day-to-day operations, there is nothing that really covers that dynamic if it happened. We don't want it to happen, but we want to be prepared just in case it does. So, thank you. Commissioner King.
Thank you, Mayor. I know a lot of businesses won't let X amount of people on the same plane for this exact reason. And I thought I understood these two things. I absolutely don't, with some confusion. I would have thought it went through a standing committee, so they would have explained it and then brought it to us as a whole. Because if I can't explain it, either one of these, I can't support it, and I'd rather have the whatever team it is, the subcommittee, say, all right, here's what this really means, so we have multiple questions answered, so when it gets to us, it can be yes or no. That's just my thought. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Bynum.
Thank you, Mayor. I would also perhaps agree to send this and possibly even the next item to the standing committee for further review. Because part of what I'm wondering now is, in the scenario that we've described, apparently our charter also does not make any provisions for who would be the mayor if you lost the mayor and both at-larges. And so I just wonder if maybe that should be looked at in addition if we need to make the change. And I appreciate what we all sort of identified on that plane, and the attempt to correct it. But I wonder if maybe we need to look a little deeper. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I love where our conversation is going because I think we are not necessarily waiting for the worst case scenario. We're trying to be preventative, but I would also agree with my colleagues that perhaps we can make this a little bit better within the scenario, which I appreciate that my colleague Commissioner Burrows laid out. To my knowledge, there really isn't a process that's laid out that would say if you don't have the two at-larges and if you don't have the mayor CEO, then who is the mayor, right? So, and I think it would be appropriate for us, maybe not in this particular legislation, but somewhere to also have that conversation. The other thing I would say is usually we have a contract with the county administrator. So what happens with these appointees? Do they have a contract? What's the mechanism by which the commission holds these appointees accountable, right? I would like to see a timeline by which these appointees would serve. And then, hey, 6 months later, 4 months later, we need to get on with the process of appointing a permanent county administrator. And so there's just a lot of questions that I think this particular language doesn't necessarily answer, but it does, I think, have us thinking creatively and strategically of the long-term implications. So all for sending this, I think Administration of Human Services would be appropriate, but Mayor, that is up to your prerogative. But I think right now this is not complete, but I do love where this is going. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Stites.
Stites District 7. So one of the things that I would say, and I like that we're going to have further conversation on it, but why allow this scenario to ever happen? I mean, that sure seems like this easy solution. You know, why allow everybody to be gone to an event, where it could happen? So, and if we are going to allow them to all be gone, then we fly them on separate planes or buses or however we get them there, so that this scenario could never happen. That sure seems like a simple solution in my opinion, but I'm up for having a lot more conversation about it because I think that we're kind of creating an issue here that is very simple. Don't travel altogether. That's just my opinion.
Thank you. Well, it's more than that. We could be in the county at an event. Something tragic could happen. You get an accident. Maybe we don't die. Maybe we become incapacitated. It's not just about traveling together or flying together. Bad things happen, unfortunately. And so the conversation needs to be had is what would be the succession plan? What would be the plan of action? Because the commission on its own cannot appoint an administrator. The mayor cannot on his own appoint an administrator. And then staff, according to our charter, this unified government cannot run without an administrator orchestrating the day-to-day operation of the unified government. So there are some good conversations, and I agree that the mayor role, the at-large roles, because truthfully, the charter also only allows for one pro tem. In the absence of that pro tem, should the other at-large become that backup pro tem? So those are good conversations to have, and I believe, I agree that maybe this should go back to standing committee. You all can really work out the dynamics of what you'd like to see as far as continuity of government and succession planning that can fill the void that I don't think was intentionally overlooked, but was nevertheless overlooked when some of these ordinances were put into place. So, Commissioner Burns.
Possible to get a Attorney General's opinion in the meantime, so we could have a little bit of direction?
I don't think so because there's not really an issue. We're talking about proposed language. And I don't think that they would give us one just on what relates to your inner workings. I do think that To Commissioner Ramirez's point earlier, some of the ideas would take a charter change. So, was not your question, but I don't believe that this issue rises to that of an attorney general's opinion because we have too many options in front of us and it would only apply to us locally.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I concur with the chief counsel. Usually Attorney General's recommendation or opinion would come into play for current language. When you're looking at proposed language, that is the purview of the commission based on a majority vote. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. The other, just for consideration, is just why, while we're having this conversation, just want to have it on record, and I'm sure folks are taking notes, all that stuff. But I think along with this conversation, we should think through how does the appointee process interact with the acting county administrator process, right? And just when does one kind of take precedent over the other, considering both of them would not be under contract? And then in general, I do think, and I don't have any examples, but just some preliminary research on this would be important. If we can see what some of our peer cities are doing, have they even contemplated, right, situations such as these, so that maybe it gets us a little bit further and saves some time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Townsend.
Thank you, Mayor, for a lot of the reasons, almost all the reasons that my counterparts have already said. I would think it would be so important to the succession and the processing of what happens if the horrible should occur, that it would go back or go to for fuller discussion and thought to the, I guess it's HS committee or whatever would be appropriate. But I appreciate you thinking in those terms, and maybe you want to take the royal approach that all the top four don't travel on the same plane. That could be a part of it too. But the other thing about this is, and I know in my tenure here, we've had at least one resignation. So just looking through some of this, making sure we use language that's consistent and includes that, and to make it a little bit more clear, we talking about temporary, long-term replacements, who's going to do that, and appreciate that you are trying to fill the legal hole here. But I think for all of those considerations or the time to do that, I would favor sending it to one of the standing committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, my question is also Commissioner Burrows might be able to answer this better too, is like, you got the governor, lieutenant governor, that chain of command. How do they travel? Do they all jump on the same plane and fly? Do they, what happens in that situation? What's their charter say? I think that would be why you get an opinion from the Attorney General, just to hear what he has to say. I don't think that would hurt. But at the same time, what happens if the governor and lieutenant governor, whoever else, they get on a plane and they fly, and then God forbid there's plane crash, So how do they travel? Basically is what I'm asking.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's for legal, I guess. And for Commissioner Burrows.
I do not know.
Go ahead, Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you. There is a succession plan set up by the administration. You have the governor, the lieutenant governor, and then you have this president of the Senate, the speaker of the House, and they continue to step down from that position down. We don't have that except for the two at large, and we are the only unified government in the state of Kansas. And this question has never come forward, but when we were all four on the plane, it was just kind of an awareness thing that it caught me that if something should happen, that there was no way for the county to continue to do its business. You know, we can argue the home rule statute allows us to do whatever we can. The bottom line is it puts legal in a really tough conundrum because it doesn't speak to how we do it. But during the legislative process, you have multiple layers, and I don't know that they all travel on a plane. You're talking well over almost 200 people that would be on a flight collectively together. Very seldom have I ever seen that occur in the legislature. It's not any different than president, vice president.
Right, right. But like, what happens if, God forbid, there's all the plane crashes that have been going on and the lieutenant governor and governor were on a plane and it went down? I mean, so what's that play?
President of the Senate.
Well, then let's put him on the plane too. So what happens if that happens?
It either goes to I can't remember if it goes to the majority leader there, if it goes to the Speaker of the House. That is the part where I didn't drill down a whole lot further, and I don't want to misspeak and say it goes to the majority, but usually it's by rank. So you have the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House. So I would assume that if the Senate president went down, it would go over to the Speaker of the House. And then from that to the assistant leaders, pro tems, all the way down. You have a majority leader. So.
Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree that, you know, sending this committee, filter it out. It is important we do have a succession plan and a continuity of government. As it was stated, our state government has it and our federal government definitely has it. There's a president, vice president, then it goes to the Speaker of the House, then the Senate President Tempore, and then down goes the department secretaries. So we need to have not only on the commission a line of succession, but staff line of succession as well when it comes to the administrator's office. So I would make a motion that we send this ordinance for further discussion and review to committee.
David, second. Okay, before I accept those motions, Dr. Hill.
I agree with what has been stated also. I do feel like it's really important we have a good succession plan in place. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree, and great information, great debate, and I think it's really crucial for the continuity of government and succession planning that we do, that you all look at filling that void. And it is more, and I know we had a customer talk about traveling together, but it's so much more than that. Several of us can be in an event and the unknown, unthinkable could happen in town. We could be in this building and the unthinkable could happen. So it's really just thinking outside the box and you all coming up and filling that gap. It's not so much that you need an opinion from anyone. You have the ability to create the succession plan that you deem that is of value for the continuity of government and to succession and to make sure that this government always has the ability to operate on behalf of the people of Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas. So, okay. There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Clerk, roll call.
Roll call, Hill.
Aye.
Kane. Lopez.
Aye.
Stites. Davis.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, that takes us to item number 5.7. It's an ordering adding a new section to the Unified Government Code to prohibit the county administrator from terminating, disciplining any subordinate employee under certain circumstances where the mayor or commission have taken a personnel action. I know that may be of concern to some employees. That is another one of those areas that is not addressed in our ordinances. And due to the fact that that could be a potential gap, it's designed to protect the non-elected employees of the unified government in those circumstances where either the commission or the mayor takes a personnel action on an administrator. So, Commissioner Burns.
I'm going to ask legal, can you give us an example of how that may happen with an employee and not, you don't need to mention any names, obviously, but a circumstance that this is a little difficult to understand, in my opinion.
Again, the circumstances are sort of the worst case outlandish circumstances for this to take an effect, and it would be if, you know, if there was a dismissal of that position and they tried to do a scorched earth style retaliation with, say, their assistants or the chief counsel who perhaps was trying to work that out. So it would be one of those worst case scorched earth type scenarios that would be the only ones that I would be able to come up with in this, that this would address.
Has Human Resources had any input with this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Seems strange.
Thank you, Commissioner Stites.
Stites District 7. So in reading of the resolution, when you say, you talk about commissioners having direct over an employee discipline or over an employee. I mean, I've always been told and that that is the administrator's job, that a commissioner has no say-so over employees. And now, I mean, it sounds really, I mean, if not, I'm not saying I'm going to go out and start, you know, but I'm really confused as to why it's even in the wording that a commissioner is, it infers that we have like a employee-employer relationship, and that's not a commissioner's job.
So
If you caught all that, thanks. I'm just trying
no,
to.
you're correct.
Okay.
You're correct. There's only one employee that the mayor commission have that authority over.
What, you faded off. I don't know what you said.
I'm sorry?
You faded off and I don't know what you said.
Okay,
Sorry.
every time I turn, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's hard to speak for it. So you're correct. The mayor and commission only have that type of authority over one employee. It is, there's not that general, the broad governance over the other employees in the organization.
So, and you're saying that one employee that we, the commission and the mayor have governance over is the county administrator?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, to answer your question, that wasn't to infer that either myself or the commission are empowering ourselves to have any type of ability to provide corrective action or anything of that nature to any employee. That by charter is the role of the county administrator. We have one employee, and that is the administrator. And there may be a time that this commission, maybe a future mayor, may agree that a personal action may need to take place. This is to protect employees, to ensure that there can be no retaliation as a result of the actions of the mayor and the commission from that administrator. As Chief Counsel mentioned, from the unthinkable and improbable scorched earth type of mentality that that person may or may not have, using their authority to be able to hire, fire, discipline, promote, demote rank and file staff. So, thank you. Commissioner Townsend.
Thank you, Mayor. Reading this, this is what I would like to see sent back. Can you hear now? This is one also I think I would like to see sent back to a standing committee for more consideration. I get we're trying to protect employee from a retaliatory action, which is illegal. And I'm wondering if something like this, instead of the way that it's written, if there isn't an action that wouldn't require an ordinance that the board could take to undo some act that's retaliatory. Let's say the retaliatory action is a firing or a suspension. Um, Is there not something that the board could do at the time? I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm saying that would be one of the other things I would like to consider and we would have time to consider if this too went back for discussion and more understanding. But thank you again for trying to fill the hole so that, we don't have this. From the time that I've been here, I would say that you wouldn't think anyone would sink so low. So I get it. But I think this would be worthy of fuller discussion. Thank you.
I don't disagree with you. In my experience, nothing would surprise me because people are people. I dealt with that on the police department. But I do agree with you. To answer your question in short, there is no provision for this commissioner or the mayor to roll back any personnel action of a subordinate employee action that's taken from the administrator, as it's written in the charter and our ordinance at this point. So that would be a good topic for discussion. So in the event that something where that would happen, if the commission did not approve of that, I like that option, that the commission could vote to roll that dismissal, demotion, transfer, termination, or whatever the case may be, that is a retaliatory or a negative personnel action back if the commission chooses to do so. So that's a good suggestion. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with what a lot of my colleagues have said. Yeah, I think particularly for our chief legal counsel. So I'm going to make a motion to send this to a standing committee. I think Administration and Human Services would make the most sense. I do think that from a research perspective, again, I'm all for looking at peer cities and how they handle similar scenarios, consulting our charter and seeing, what our charter, state law, federal law says, as well as our HR department, just to see what we already have on the books. But with that, I'll go ahead and move that we send this to a standing committee for more discussion.
Townsend, second.
Thank you. Before I accept those motions, clerk, on items 5.6 and 5.7, I think there was a request to take it to Human Services on both of those, correct?
Yes.
If we can make sure that that happens once you're ready, and legal, I believe that you've gotten some notes that maybe could add value to the questions that some of the commissioners may have had in regard to both of these items. Hopefully staff can be prepared to present some information so the commissioners and these standing committees can make an informed decision and hopefully move some legislation forward to the full body for consideration. So there's a motion and a second. Commissioner Ramirez, you had Commissioner Ramirez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I already mentioned this to Commissioner Bynum, but just to say in the open, and so the legal can get it on record as well. For the item to dealing with the succession planning, that we have a emergency management at the planning or at the committee meeting, because I think they would be important to have there as well, especially when we're talking about continuity of government. I think emergency management should be present. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Clerk, roll call.
Roll call. Hill.
Aye.
Kane. Aye. Lopez.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, that takes us to item 5.8. It's an adoption of a resolution declining cost of living increases during the 2025 budget year from the mayor, CEO, and certain members of the Board of Commissioners. This was blue sheeted on today. I think as we were going through the budget process last year, if my memory serves me right, to take a leadership role, as we were going down the walk pathway to decide to go revenue neutral, I volunteered to forego or not to have a pay raise this year. The reason why this is being brought forward is because by ordinance, the mayor and the commissioners are entitled to a pay raise. And I can't just say I don't want one, and neither can you. The commission, by resolution, has to accept my request to decline my pay raise and any compensation that I agreed to not receive um, um, as I requested last year during budget negotiations. I believe that there were several commissioners that also agreed to forego their pay raises as a gesture of goodwill to show that not only are we going to be revenue neutral with our pay raises, but then we also, I know several of us had to tighten our belts and cut our budgets. Both the commission and I know my office did as well. We cut our budgets to go in line with what we asked staff to do, maintaining revenue neutral. But we took that extra step to say, not only on top of that, I'm going to cut my budget, I won't take a pay increase for 2025. And so that's what this is about. And so as the mayor, I'm not really sure how many of you all, I can't remember how many of you all agreed to forego your pay raise. But I'm maintaining my commitment to give my monies back to the unified government and not take a pay raise in my last year as a mayor. And but I need, that's a request that I'm making, and that's what this resolution is about. And I'm just asking that you all accept my request and any other commissioners that, I think legal worked on that to try and identify who those other commissioners were, to accept our request to decline a pay increase and cost of living increases and any other benefits that we agreed to as a result of us going revenue neutral last year. So, Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, I just want to say, Mayor, wait a minute, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because if you remember, we were working on a budget without the audit. Okay? Now, here comes November, we finally get the audit. Well, by the way, we got more money than we thought. So I was going off of, hey, I was agreeing with you at the time. But again, we didn't have the audit with us. And so we're just trying to tighten our belt, but we didn't have to really. If we'd have had an audit when we were supposed to have it, things would be different right now, knowing what we know now. So that's my issue right now with this.
Well, I get that, Commissioner. Nobody is forcing anybody not to.
Well, I'm just saying.
Nobody's not forcing anybody. That is strictly voluntary on your part if you choose.
I understand. I would volunteer on that part because that's what I was going off. But guess what? And then months later, we get the audit. Oh, by the way, we got more money than we thought.
Okay, well, let me rephrase that. I will not accept my pay raise that's due to me this year. And so I can only speak for myself. That's what the resolution entails. If I can make a motion, clerk, and to just make a motion to exclude me from receiving any compensation as far as pay increases as I agreed upon during last year's budget cycle. And we can modify and let the resolution reflect that. And if other commissioners choose to circle back, we can bring you all back after you review, think about it again, and bring forth another resolution that can adjust that option for you as well, if that's a problem. But I'm just staying true to the commitment that I made to the people of Kansas City, Kansas, and to this body. I can't force, I'm not asking anyone, I asked, people volunteered, but really that's your purview. I can't make you, I'm not forcing you, I'm not even pressuring you. That is something you can do if you choose to do so of your own free will, just like I'm doing. So that's my motion that's on the table for consideration. Commissioner Townsend.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to offer another alternative, which would be to permit any commissioner who wants to be excluded, if their name is on that resolution, to merely exclude it from that and let those who are going to join you, let this move forward.
Right. That's what I'm doing in essence with my motion.
I understood your motion just to be about you, though.
It excludes everyone else. So everyone else is taken off.
Okay.
My motion is to take everybody
Well,
off.
well, okay, but the thing is, I joined you, so I stand by what I said then,
Okay.
that notwithstanding, and there may be others who would do that. If there's someone who's not, just exclude them. So that would be a different motion.
Well, but before we enter, I'll withdraw my motion for now. Okay. Council, did we identify the names of the individuals that chose to,
Yes, the resolution is for the Mayor CEO Garner and Commissioners Hill, Townsend, Bynum, and Burrows. And so that's from what we collected from that meeting, from the forms the commissioners filled out requesting not to receive the raise. So we can obviously modify the resolution to exclude or include any other names.
okay, Commissioner Stites?
Stites District 7. So Mayor, if I was not mistaken, and what you were what you were saying in your motion is that you would exclude all commissioners at this moment. You would move forward with your recommendation for yourself. And then what would be the mechanism for us? How would we come back at a later date to, for those that elect to do that? What would be the mechanism?
Just let me know and I'll put you on the agenda, just like I did today.
Okay, so I make them, since you rescinded your motion, I'm going to make them,
But before I accept your motion,
Oh,
I got. Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, okay. Commissioner Townsend?
Thank you, Mayor. With that clarification, I would make a motion to approve the resolution unless there's anyone else present who was named that wants to rescind. That way we don't have to do any number of motions. It only applies to those who are named in there, and if someone wants to join later, you can put in another resolution with the new eddies. But this way, only those who have agreed are impacted. So that would be my motion, to accept the resolution as it's written.
Okay, before I accept that, Commissioner Bynum?
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Just a comment. I do not know the financial impact to the unified government of the 4 commissioners and the mayor who've agreed to forego a cost of living increase. I don't know how many dollars that equates to in the overall scheme of our budget. And I don't know if the CFO has that information handy tonight. But I want to make a real quick point, and that is that all of the commissioners that have served in this unified government for the first 20 years minimum of the existence of this unified government served at the same rate of pay as was outlined upon unification in 1997. So long-serving commissioners have served at the same rate of pay as when we adopted unification in 1997. That's a long time to go with no pay raise. And furthermore, the money can't be why we do this because it's not very much money. So I just kind of wanted to put that on the record that we've only been in this scenario of receiving an annual cost of living increase since about 2017 or so, 2018. So it hasn't been too terribly long that we've even changed it such that the commissioners can be included in a cost of living increase. And that's what we're talking about tonight. So when we say a raise, what we mean is a cost of living adjustment, which to me is different than a raise. And Dr. Knieven, I have no idea if you know the dollar amount that a mayor and 4 commissioners foregoing their cost of living increase equals, just even in the ballpark.
I sincerely apologize. I'm looking up the code.
I
right now.
apologize for
It's
asking.
okay. It would be 3% of what the commission, what I don't have on hand is what do they make now? And-
Okay.
And so it'd be 3% of that, but you're right. It's a dollar amount is not significant. And I can pull up the code and find the actual number.
Thank you.
Commissioner Burrows?
Thank you, Mayor. I chose to move forward and not accept the 3%. More as a symbolic nature to the community that we're asking those within our community to understand. I remember standing up here and stating the night we went revenue neutral that it was going to cause some pain. And there is no reason why I shouldn't share in that by turning down and not accepting the new pay. I did the same thing in the legislature when we hit the recession. And it's not really about the money, it's the symbolic partnership as a leader in the community to partner with the very community I represent. So that's the feeling behind me making those decisions. I won't speak for my colleagues, but the amount of money is really immaterial. It's the symbolic gesture to the community that if we ask you to share the pain, I'm willing to share that pain with you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And that's totally was the point when I made that suggestion. Just take a leadership role symbolically, share in that sacrifice with our community. I know that the administrator and staff had asked us to cut budgets, and I believe it was 5%. And I believe that my office cut 15% is our upwards thereof. But we went way over what we asked. And along with that, I said, you know what? When I talked about shared sacrifice with the community, that's part of it. I'm going to forego my pay raise. So I just, I believe there was a motion. You want to repeat that?
I move to approve the resolution as submitted.
There's a motion and a second. Clerk, roll call.
Roll call. Hill.
Aye.
Kane. Aye. Lopez.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with the items on the planning and zoning portion of the agenda. Clerk, could you please read the statement required by state law governing the planning and zoning portion of our meeting, followed by the items on the planning and zoning consent agenda?
Good evening. We would like to welcome all present to this meeting of the Unified Government Commission. Members of the commission are Mayor CEO Tyrone Garner, Commissioner Melissa Bynum, at-large District 1, Commissioner Tom Burrows, at-large District 2, Commissioner Gail Townsend, District 1, Commissioner Bill Burns, District 2, Commissioner Christian Ramirez, District 3, Commissioner Evelyn Hill, District 4, Commissioner Mike Kane, District 5, Commissioner Phil Lopez, District 6, Commissioner Chuck Stites, District 7, and Commissioner Andrew Davis, District 8. As each petition is called, all persons or against will be given the opportunity to express their views. If this is the first time that a particular petition has been before the commission has three options. 1, it can approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission with 6 votes. 2, it can override the Planning Commission's recommendation, but it would take 8 votes to override. 3, it can return the matter to the Planning Commission for further consideration, together with a statement specifying the reasons for the referral back to the Planning Commission. The consent agenda is the first part of the planning and zoning agenda. Items on the consent agenda have received a unanimous vote of recommendation by the Planning Commission. Unless there is a request to set aside an item from the consent agenda by the applicant, a member of the public, the Unified Government Commission, or others, then the Planning Commission's recommendation on all of the items on the consent agenda will be adopted by the Unified Government Commission at one time. I will read the list of agenda items on the consent agenda, and when I have completed the list, the mayor will ask if there are any requests to set aside items from the consent agenda. This is your time to come to the microphone and provide the agenda item to be set aside if you do not agree with the Planning Commission's recommendation. If you're joining us virtually, this is your time to raise your hand and, once acknowledged, provide the agenda item to be set aside. If you contacted the UG Clerk's office, that item will be set aside by the UG Clerk on your behalf. If an item is set aside, the matter will be discussed and voted on separately. All items not set aside will be approved with the Planning Commission's recommendation. We appreciate the attendance of those people here this evening, and we recognize the importance of each petition. We would, however, remind you that there are a number of items on the agenda, and we would appreciate your efforts to make your remarks as concise as possible. We ask that anyone with a cell phone please turn them off or switch to non-audio so you will not disturb the meeting. If joining us virtually or by phone, we ask that you mute your phone when not speaking to avoid background noise so you will not disturb the meeting. Once the petitioners make their presentation, anyone for or against will be allowed the maximum 3 minutes to state their views. As you come to the microphone, please state your name and city for the record if attending in person. This is your time to raise your hand if you're joining us virtually. When your name is called, please state your name and city for the record. The mayor and commission are required to disclose contacts with proponents or opponents on any item on the planning and zoning agenda. At this time, does any member of the commission wish to disclose any contact with proponents or opponents on any item on the agenda?
Okay, clerk, are there any disclosures?
I will now read the items on the consent agenda. Change of zone applications. COZ 2024-041, Tyrone Harrison. Change of zone from R1 Single Family District to AG Agricultural District to keep 2 cows and 2 goats at 144 North 61st Street. Recommended for approval by a vote of 6-0. Special use permits. Item SP 2024-074, Andrew Basilica. Special use permit for a short-term rental at 111 South 16th Street. Recommended for approval by a vote of 6-0 for 1 year. Item SP 2024-107, Dayton Elmer. Home occupation special use permit to operate a brewery at 4609 Haskell Avenue. Recommended for denial by a vote of 6-0. Item SP 2024-113, Maxim Kunovich. Special use permit for continuation of a short-term rental at 4211 South Thompson Street. Recommended for approval by a vote of 6-0 for 2 years. Item SP 2024-114, Brian Glasser. Special use permit for continuation of a short-term rental at 508 Ohio Avenue. Recommended for approval by a vote of 6-0 for 2 years. Item SP 2024-115, Jacob Dobbs with Call Valley Engineering. Special use permit for continuation of an automotive body shop at 3151 Fiberglass Road. Recommended for approval by a vote of 6-0 for 5 years. Item SP 2024-118, Michael Rhodes. Special use permit for continuation of the removal of earth and fill at 10702 Donahue Road. Recommended for approval by a vote of 6-0 for 2 years. Miscellaneous. Item 1, an ordinance rezoning property at 13303 Parallel Parkway from AG Agricultural District to R1 Single Family District. Recommended for approval. Item 7.2, an ordinance rezoning property at 8010 Parallel Parkway from C-0 Non-Retail Business District to CP-1 Planned Limited Business District. Recommended for approval. Item 7.3, an ordinance rezoning property at 4000 Adams Street from R1B Single Family District to R2B Two Family District. Recommended for approval. Item 7.4, an ordinance rezoning property at 4209, 4211, and 4213 Adams Street from R1B Single Family District to R2B Two Family District. Recommended for approval. Item 7.5, an ordinance authorizing a special use permit for an event space with live entertainment at 735 Minnesota Avenue. Recommended for approval. Item 7.6, an ordinance authorizing a special use permit for live entertainment at a restaurant at 2724 North 13th Street. Recommended for approval. Item 7.7, an ordinance authorizing a special use permit for continuation of a used automotive dealership at 1401 Merriam Lane. Recommended for approval. Item 7.8, an ordinance authorizing a special use permit for the operation of an automotive body shop at 5015 Gibbs Road. Recommended for approval. This represents all of the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you, clerk. Do any members of the commission, the county administrator, or the public wish to set aside any items on the planning and zoning consent agenda? If an item is not set aside, all items on the planning and zoning consent agenda will be voted on by one vote. to follow the recommendation of the Planning Commission. Clerk, has anyone asked for this item, an item to be set aside?
The clerk's office has received no requests.
Okay. Is there anyone in attendance that would like to set aside an item? Clerk, is there anyone joining us virtually with their hands raised that would like to set aside an item?
No hands are raised.
Okay. Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, I'd like to set aside, the 71C0Z2024-041. I just have a question about that, though.
Davis, second. Okay, I'll accept the motion for the remaining items. Clerk, roll call.
Roll call. Hill.
Aye.
Kane. Aye. Lopez.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Clerk, can you read the set aside in its entirety?
This is item change of zone application COZ 2024-041. Tyrone Harrison, change of zone from R1 Single Family District to AG Agricultural District to keep 2 cows and 2 goats at 144 North 61st Street. Recommended for approval by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you. Staff, Mr. Han, you can make some remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning, and resign. Again, this is a change of zone from R1 to AG to maintain livestock. This is in the planned KCK Midtown South area. Staff received no letters of support. There was comments in opposition, really questions at the City Planning Commission earlier this month. And there were some notices of violation for work done before the house was built when it was vacant. So those have all been rectified since then. Staff agrees with Planning Commission's recommendation of approval with conditions.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Either in person or online?
I don't see them online.
Okay. I'll now open the public hearing. Clerk, have you had any direct notification from the public who wish to express their comments in favor of the item?
No comments received.
Is there anyone present who would like to speak in favor of the item? Is there anyone joining us virtually, clerk, who would like to speak in favor of the item?
No hands are raised.
Clerk, any notifications of opposition to the item?
No comments received.
Is there anyone present who would like to speak in opposition of the item? Clerk, is there anyone joining us virtually who would like to speak in opposition to the item?
No hands are raised.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Again, I'll give the petitioner. He's available, he or she. Clerk, anyone online present? Okay, seeing none?
No.
Questions from the commission? Commissioner Lopez?
Yes, just have a question on who really owns this property. It says Tyrone Harris, Senior, but as I'm doing my homework on this, the mailing address comes back to 5464 North Mercier, KCMO, to a Renter Properties, Inc. And that property comes back to a Christine and Carrie Renner at 16675 Northwest 130th Street, Platte City, Missouri. So who really owns this property?
Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning, and resign. I defer to UG Legal.
I don't have any of the deeds in front of me or any of the filings on it. I would assume that the applicant, I've not seen anything or have not investigated this. You know, mailing addresses are often different. Or they'll,
I understand how
or
that
they'll
works.
have an agent who accepts service. There can be service agents, but I don't have any specific knowledge on this matter.
I just, I have a hard time being supportive of this when, and this is, I should have brought the copy of the deed with me, or, but, it's coming back to, an owner of, Renter Properties, Inc. Apparently they own a lot of properties. So does that kind of conflict with the petitioner on this item?
The clerk has looked up our tax records and they do show that the applicant is the owner.
Right, but the mailing address, look at the mailing address.
Right, but the mailing address is often different.
But that doesn't make any sense.
We have an
I mean, I own property in Oklahoma, and the mailing address comes back to my address here in Kansas City, Kansas.
Yes, the tax records show him as the owner and as the mailing address, so I'm not sure about the other, but
Okay.
he appears to be the owner from from the Unified Government Records.
Okay. I just wanted to get that straight before. I want to make sure. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bynum.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Lopez, I do not know what data you are referencing, but on the appraiser's website, Tyrone and Angela Harrison are the owners of this parcel. So I'm not sure what you're referencing. With that, I would make a motion to approve.
David, second.
There's a motion second. Clerk, roll call.
roll call. Hill,
Aye.
Kane, Lopez,
No.
Stites,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
No.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
No.
Aye.
Ramirez. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. That takes us, that's the end of the planning and zoning portion of the agenda. We'll now move to the regular portion of our agenda, which takes us to the regular consent agenda. Do any members of the Commissioner and County Administrator wish to set aside any item on the regular consent agenda? If an item is not set aside, all items on the regular consent agenda will be voted on by one vote.
David's move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, clerk roll call.
Roll call. Hill,
Aye.
Kane, Lopez,
Aye.
Stites, Davis,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That takes us to the administrator's agenda. We have 4 items. The first item is a request from the Transportation Department seek approval to apply for and accept a General Motors on Main Street 2025 grant. Are there any questions, commissioners, in regards to that? Okay. Have you read? Okay. Is she here? Okay.
She was here. That's right. He's gone.
Okay. Go ahead.
Stites, motion to approve.
David's second.
Motion second, clerk roll call.
Roll call. Hill,
Aye.
Kane, Lopez,
Aye.
Stites, Davis,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That takes us to item number 12.2. Is an approval of an ordinance and resolution related to issuance and sale of general obligation bonds, Series 2025A. I'll ask our finance department to provide a brief, abbreviated update on the sale.
Mr. Mayor, would you let Desiree know that her item was approved already? And she did a great job.
Ms. Desiree, your item was approved.
Good job.
Great job. Yeah. You didn't even need to be here. Yeah, we got you.
There was a vibe.
Right. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Kevin Wimpy with Gilmore and Bell. Our firm serves as the UG's bond counsel. I'm joined tonight by my colleague Chanel Perez. And also with us tonight as part of the financing team is Elizabeth Bergman from Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors. As you all know, this morning bids were taken on the UG's 2025 general obligation bonds, and it's the culmination of the last couple of years of adopting capital improvement plans and the financing and construction of those capital projects. These bonds would be the permanent financing for those projects. This item last came before you in January when our go-to-market resolution was approved, and that authorized the financing team to prepare all things necessary to take bonds to market, including getting third-party credit rating agencies to review the UG's credit, and both S&P Global and Moody's affirmed the ratings. I'm in control here. On the screen now, it's just the summary of the sources of funds and uses of funds. As you can see, the par amount ended up just in excess of $81 million. And the pie chart is a handy breakout of the allocation between sanitary sewer and tax-supported debt there. As I said, the two credit rating agencies affirmed the UG's ratings on both counts. The bidding process is a blind bidding process. 11 a.m. was the cutoff, and 10 bidders submitted bids for the bonds. And you can see their true interest costs listed in ascending order on the right. Again, 10 bids were received, and the low bid was UBS Financial Services out of their New York desk at a true interest cost of about 3.81. So tonight, again, is the final required approval by the governing body. And with your approval, we'll proceed to closing of the bond issue here in about a month. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just so hearing clearly, our rate is 3.8.
So Shelley Knieven, CFO for the Unified Government. You are hearing that correctly, which is lower than what we thought it would be. And I did want to share that the annual payments are about $250,000 less than what we thought they would be. And that's over 20 years, so that's a $5 million savings. So it is substantial.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I was reading and hearing that correctly when I saw 3.8.
The markets have been very volatile, and we just had a really good day.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Motion second, clerk roll call.
Roll call, Hill,
Aye.
Kane, Lopez.
Aye.
Stites, Davis,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrow,
No.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That takes us to item 12.3. It's an ordinance authorizing the issuance of industrial revenue bonds for the Hudson Apartments LLC project located at 3600 Rainbow. I'll ask our administrator, Mr. Johnson, to make the remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going to turn it back over to Mr. Wempe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioners, again, Kevin Wimpy with Gilmore and Bell, the UG's Bond Council. These IRBs relate to the 220 unit multifamily project at 3600. The ordinance authorizes issuance of $64 million of industrial revenue bonds, and they're being issued for the purpose of providing a property tax abatement for a term of 10 years, as well as a sales tax exemption on construction materials and furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Like you've heard me say plenty of times before on IRBs, there's no liability for repayment on the UG's behalf and no credit risk. This project was previously approved under resolutions of intent adopted in December of 2021 and March of 2023, and a performance agreement setting forth the terms of the tax abatement was executed in December of 2021. The developer has since timely performed its obligations, and so this ordinance will now authorize the issuance of bonds, which will trigger the payments in lieu of tax to begin in year 2026. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Burrows.
Thank you. Mr. Whitney, you said there was a property tax exemption. The Hudson Apartments, is this the one that the facility had been deemed uninhabitable because of the mold that was in the facility, and it was such a tough build because it was up against a rock cliff, and the commission chose to give the tax break to build those new apartments? Is this the facility that we're referring to?
Commissioner, this is the facility there. It's 3600 Rainbow. They're near the KU Health Campus. The mole problem's not familiar to me. I do recall there might have been some topographical issues with the site. I don't remember specifically though the details from. It was in 2021 when the terms of the deal was approved.
Okay, Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, you are correct, Commissioner Burrows. It is where the old Cambridge apartments used to be. That they demoed, raised, and remediated all of that before they started building where the current, where they currently are now, the Hudson Apartments. And, but yes, you are correct. That is the same location, and the Rosedale neighborhood, they had no opposition to it just because of the location and that rock wall, as you mentioned. It shielded a lot from what the apartment complex is going to be doing.
If I may, Mayor. I just wanted to ensure that when I heard the tax in the tax abatement portion, there was a reason why there was so much discussion in reference to the topographical tough build, because they actually built more units on that site than what were originally there, providing more housing. And so I just wanted to ensure that that was the right one. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, is there a motion?
Excellent.
Motion second, clerk roll call.
Roll call Hill,
Aye.
Kane, Lopez,
Aye.
Stites, Davis.
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That takes us to the last item on the administrator's agenda. It is a notification received by the Unified Government regarding issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds to be issued by the Kansas Development Finance Authority for the Chelsea Plaza project located at 566 Freeman Court. This resolution preserves the governing body's intent to approve or disapprove the request. I'll ask someone from the legal department to make some opening remarks.
I will,
Mr. Conway from our legal department will,
I,
or our chief legal counsel.
I'll make some very brief ones, because I think we have the representatives for the project here. You've seen several of these lately, where the state is going to issue the bonds, and so it does not count toward, Wyandotte County or Kansas City, Kansas has no obligation on these. But they do have the right to review it, and if you disapprove, it would delay the state 1 year from issuing them. If you take no action or you approve, then the state will issue the bonds or the financing, the revenue bonds. And so if, we did an ordinance because two resolutions, one approving, one disapproving, but really you would have, if you took no action at all, it would be approved, and it would go forward at the state level. But I do believe that the project representatives are here to discuss the project and answer any questions.
Hello, good to see you guys again. John Ullman with American Community Developers. We are the managing member of the proposed ownership entity Chelsea Plaza 2023 LLC. We don't own the property yet. It's currently under contract. In October, we received an award of 4% low-income housing tax credits with state tax credits. Part of that program is a requirement by the federal government that we finance 50% of the construction costs with project costs with tax exempt bonds issued by the state. KDFA would be the issuer. On February 4th, KDFA's board gave us approval and a notice of intent to issue those bonds, which triggers the review period for you. Chelsea Plaza will undergo a full rehab, new unit interiors, floors, kitchens, bathrooms, paint, HVAC, the whole works, appliances, new exteriors, new siding. We're going to brighten up the color a little bit, enlarge the windows. It's built in the 70s, and so it's kind of small windows, some architectural features that are a little bit out of date. We're going to have new roofs on it, landscaping, kind of the whole deal with site improvements, and some community building upgrades, parking, that kind of thing. So the idea, this is the sister property to Gateway Plaza. We were before you guys in September to talk about Gateway Plaza, sister property located right across the street. And so doing a substantial rehabilitation of both properties is really transformative to the neighborhood. I think it's one of 3 affordable properties, all 3 of which in the neighborhood have gotten tax credit awards and allocations of tax exempt bonds. And so the Northeast neighborhood obviously has had a history of disinvestment. And so there's an opportunity to really invest in the neighborhood. The total hard costs, including general contractor fees and The whole deal is about $16 million in hard costs with just under, I believe, just under 34 million in total costs. Of the hard costs, 70% or so, we figured of that 16 million would be going to local contractors. And on the sister property, we've already started engaging in contracting those contractors. And so trying to keep as much of that money locally as possible. This project will be utilizing Davis-Bacon wages. We are asking for no money from the city or the county. There will be no tax abatement. We're not asking for any county funds, no sales tax abatement, none of that. This is just strictly not disapproving the taxes and bond issuance by the state, Kansas Development Finance Authority. The other part of the rehab is that we're really looking to stabilize the community. And not just the community, like not just the property, but the community at large. We're working with the principal of Grand Elementary, which is located adjacent to Gateway, where a large number of the students at Chelsea Plaza attend, or a large number of the students at Grand Elementary live at Chelsea Plaza and Gateway. We're working with a local church. We've also, Jim Harrigan, Executive Vice President of our management company, Independent Management Services, has been working with the local detectives and majors of the police department to try and secure the site. As it's deteriorated physically under previous ownership, it's also becoming less and less occupied, which invites trouble. And so we're working to secure the site. We will be working to secure the site once we take ownership. That includes a security contract, which the local police department has tapped into the cameras, license plate readers, and additional involvement to really try and clean up the neighborhood as a whole, do a transformative investment in the neighborhood, not just in one property or two properties, but really transform the neighborhood. These two sites contain about 80% of the households under the poverty limit in that census tract. And so rehabbing these two properties will go a long way and provide, tens of millions in investment into the Northeast neighborhood that it desperately needs. And I think Jim can talk a little bit more about the management process and how we're going to improve the social profile of the company or the property.
Yeah, and as John mentioned, we were here in the fall talking about Gateway, and we did close on that property. We purchased that in November and have started, when we closed on it, there was 35 vacant units. We're in the process of turning those units, reoccupying them, working closely with the police. Actually, I was on the site today. We had an arrest of somebody that was basically vandalizing the neighborhood for quite a while. They worked with us. They had us with our cameras. They arrested the gentleman today, and he's going to be off the streets for a while. So working closely with the police, and again, working closely with turning these units. We're going to start reoccupying the units in the next 30 days. And then the actual rehab over there is going to start in about 60 days. But have gotten local contractors working on the Gateway, and we'll be doing the same at Chelsea. The big thing we have that we encountered when we took over Gateway was former ownership was not evicting the folks that should be evicted, the bad guys. So we're working closely with the police to make sure those are carried out and reoccupying by people that want to live there and obey it and work with the rules. So been very successful in a short period of time. We've got a long waiting list and looking forward to Gateway as well as moving forward on Chelsea.
Sir, could you state your name for the record, please?
Yeah, it's Jim Harrigan.
Thank you.
I'm the Executive Vice President, Independent Management Services, the management agent.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bynum has a question.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to make a motion expressing approval of the issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds by KDFA for Chelsea Plaza project.
Second, Townsend.
Okay, we'll hold those motions. Dr. Hill, you had a question?
Yes, I just have a couple of questions. Thank you for your presentation. And this is in District 4, and those apartments are in great disrepair. So we really need those buildings refreshed and then the extra security as far as the cameras. I definitely look forward to all of that. And my main question that I like for us to think about, I definitely want to approve this, but one of the things we know that there's been some changes on the federal level, and how does that affect us on the state level since you're doing this from state dollars. And I appreciate that there's no match from the UG at all. This is something that is coming down from the state. So if your funds are affected somehow, does that leave us half naked? I mean, we get part of it done and the other part, now that sounds a little wild coming from me, but
It's a great
it's
question
late,
right
so.
now. No, absolutely. No, that is a great question right now. There has been a lot of uncertainty coming out of Washington regarding a lot of funding programs for housing. This project does have an allocation of green and resilient retrofit program funds, which are uncertain. Fortunately, this property does have a plan B. And so we can fill the gap with private loan dollars. We don't absolutely need that. It's a nice to have. We would most likely need to change the scope of work a little bit, right? There's some like solar panels and really energy efficient things that we might just peel back a little bit just due to a loss of funding. However, we can fill those with private loan dollars, that gap, and the project will continue. We can still continue to completion. As far as I'm aware, there is no state level threat to any of the funding sources on the state level. And that is the only one that has been at risk at the federal level. Fortunately, like I said, we have a backup plan that will allow us to complete with or without those funds.
And my other question is, what do we do with the families while you are refreshing those units? Are these families going to be displaced, or what happens?
There will be no displacement. What we do, and Jim can provide some more details if I miss any, but we either take a vacant unit or in the community building, we create essentially a day room, right? It'll have TV, couches, kitchen, kind of whatever you want to provide tenants a place to be essentially while we rehab the unit. We schedule the rehab and our contractors between the hours of 9 a.m. and I think about 4:30 p.m. By the end of the day, the unit will be habitable, water running, the whole deal. In the event that it's not, because obviously things happen, you get inside a wall, a pipe's burst, we can't get it habitable by the end of the day. We have a budget set aside. I believe at this project it's up to $2,000 per unit budgeted for hotel, transportation costs, helping with packing assistance, moving assistance, and a per diem, like daily expense to cover whatever food, whatever it is that they need throughout the day while they're out of their unit, and we fix it up and get them back in. So there will be no permanent displacement. Any temporary relocation will be on a contingent basis. We don't expect any, but it does happen from time to time when you're doing a project this size and you don't know specifically one in the condition that these are in. We've already encountered that once, and so it does happen, but we have a plan for that.
And my final question is, Commissioner Bynum just moved to approve. So I always get confused with the state. A yes means no and a no means yes. So,
They changed it this
We
time.
changed
right?
it.
They
We
changed it, yeah.
so approve means approve.
The motion was to approve the approval, so yes would be for the project support of the
So
project.
yes means yes.
Yes means
Okay,
yes, support of
all
the
right.
project.
Thank you.
No, it's confusing.
Yeah.
It is very confusing.
Thank you for wording it that way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Davis. Very, very quickly, gentlemen, thank you for not only keeping your promises and continuing to work on the prior property that you acquired with Gateway, but coming back and being interested in wanting to do more. We have over 4,500 parcels of vacant land that we are trying to dispose of. And so Godspeed on both of your projects. Hope that y'all are successful and that the partnerships with the neighborhoods in KCKPD and others go very, very well. We would love to have you all back so that we can keep building quality housing in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to thank you as well for your commitment to these areas that have been disinvested, that have gone in disrepair, to ensure that our residents, especially in the Northeast, can have safe, affordable, quality, clean housing that's well maintained, and it's long overdue. So thank you for your commitment to that area. So thank you so much. There's a motion, I believe,
Yes.
and there's a second.
Yes.
Clerk, roll call.
Roll call, Hill.
Aye.
Kane. Lopez.
Aye.
Stites. Davis.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you
all.
so much. There is no further business for us tonight. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Bynum, motion to adjourn.
There's a motion and a second. Clerk, roll call.
Roll call, Hill.
Aye.
Kane. Lopez.
Aye.
Stites. Davis.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows. Townsend.
Aye, and thank you, Mayor, for what you did tonight with the recognition. That will go on the record as never having been done before and well-deserved by those recipients. So thank you, Mayor. That's one of your callings.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Burns.
And thank you, and thank you all for sitting through that and supporting the community.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we are adjourned. Have a good evening.